Bit of a background, Associated British Foods, some of you in the room will be fully sort of aware of us as the business, one of the big major sort of international players in the food arena. In terms of turnover, we're 15 billion a year with 130,000 employees in 50 countries. Operating in sort of grocery segment, sugar, agriculture, ingredients. And the one that's always the slight oddity within the rest of it is retail, and that being Primark. However, their contribution to those numbers at the top is very significant. And that really just is to emphasise the global reach of the company. And also just to bear in mind that some of the brands that are covered within ABF are those that are seen sort of not just in the UK, but also around the world. What is, important to emphasise is the reason probably why some of you might not be aware of ABF as a company is that the companies in themselves operate pretty much sort of, autonomously with each other. Although we do work quite closely as a community in communities with each other, so be it on technical issues, be it on marketing, be it on commercial, or whatever. There are shared learnings that go between the groups, and I'm going to in a minute, sort of bring that to life, as I've got my colleague Lina from AB World Foods here, who is a sort of student of the AFTP, that'll be able to put the experience of being on it into far greater words than I ever will be able to. So the reason for our sort of getting involved with the ATP at the time was that we had a dilemma in 2012 that we were a fairly small management team, and we were all sat around and we all looked at each other and we realised we're all graduates of the 80s. I heard the words aging workforce coming on, and yeah, we had a bit of a moment there and thought, hang on a minute, we're gonna hit troubles in the sort of fairly near future. One of the reasons behind this, most food groups in the 90s and 2000s went through a lot of rationalisation, consolidated and outsourced certain parts of their technical processes, and that stripped quite a lot of technical talent pool out of our immediate businesses, and we went through a bit of a dead phase for a while. So at that point, we recreated a role of technical graduates coming into the business. We've been doing it for 6 years now, and I've been proud to say that as of 2018, we still have all our graduates in our Million Baking Graduate Scheme still within ABF. Maybe other companies, but they're still in. And, it's because I believe we put so much focus into putting sort of training there. And recruitment, obviously, is the important bit. Getting kids in from school to study food science is another important part of this. But one part of the jigsaw is around trying to retain the people once you've employed them in the first place. And that is the role where we sort of see, the AFTP can play. So this is giving good quality training, CPD, or, the qualifications, when people are a few years beyond graduation in their careers. Again, it sort of helps with recognition and support. So our first contacts with the Food Advanced Training Partnership, we supported their application for BBSRC funding. I'd say I had to look back at the date. I can't believe it was 8 years ago, but 8 years ago it is. Myself and Julian Cooper, sort of another long-time ABF colleague, sat on the executive board of that particular organisation. We got involved with sort of the workshops, and on the new version, the AFTP, where I'm sitting on the food and nutrition group. Julian, although he has sort of retired, he's very much still involved in this whole process. So we still have that sort of connection, sort of with it. in terms of people sitting the modules, I'm going to say I'll get Lina to sort of come up and go through. She's our sort of sole sort of doctoral representative, but we've got a couple of other people that have signed up to do sort of multiple sort of modules. But we've also, in amongst some of our sort of other group companies, have had sort of attendees on all different bits and pieces. And whilst what I'll do is I'll get Lina to come up here and sort of present her feedback, and then I'll come back and take over and sort of close that out. But if you'd like to come up, Lina.
How do you control this?
It's the right hand.
It's the right one. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Lina. Thank you very much for inviting me to present, to share my whole doctorate study in the 5 minutes. So just let me tell you that if you need my contacts, please contact me and ask any questions if you're considering to send any students, any people for study. So just a little bit about me. So I'm Lithuanian, and I did my general business management degree in Lithuania and in Erasmus exchange program in Germany. So I speak a couple of languages. And then I said, oh, but I'm really interested in supply chain and logistics. So I found the best university I thought at that time, back in 2007. And I did my master's at University of Nottingham, which then placed me on the map at Associated British Foods. So I was supply chain graduate. Now I'm 9.5 years in the business. And I worked in Westmo for 5 years, where I mainly focused in manufacturing roles. I was commissioning a couple of new lines. And only at that time, where I was doing some process improvement, continuous improvement exercises, my line manager at that time said, Lina, you're asking me so many questions. What's happening with those materials? Maybe you just go and plug the gap. And that's how I really joined the food partnership and started my doctorate. So that was really exciting time back in 2012. And now I'm really, really hoping that I'm going to finish this year. I really hope. Carol, hopefully I will do it. But really, maybe it's very interesting for you. Why did I choose it? Because working full-time, being from different country, it's quite a lot of things to juggle at the time. And in the business, we are always expected to learn new things, move the business agenda, and we are very busy. So really what I enjoyed when I looked at AFTP study was that the research that's there, it is presented in such a practical way. So I could take it on and absorb it. So I'm not coming from any scientific background. And that was really, really useful for me. Second thing was, thanks to all lovely staff from AFTP, they really work their hardest to provide a flexible learning pathway. I remember there was a year where I barely did a module or two, but on the other year I did 5. So it's really, really helpful to really put that plan together for every individual that it's needed. Oh, sorry. And yes, this study is really designed for industry professionals. So I would call us mature students to really plug that gap and get up to date and really get in the right mindset working in food industry, not in clothing, not in another type, but it's food. So we put food in people's mouths, so we need to take care of their health. It's very, very important that what I'm finding now, how I think, it totally changed. And of course, my grandma is something to do with the last point. She says she's waiting for grandchildren and my doctor title, so I better finish it off. That was my biggest motivator to start and complete it. So that's a little bit about me and my reasons why I joined AFTP. Oh, I see Grzegorz. Did you graduate?
Friday.
Ooh.
Yes, but ceremony is on Friday.
Oh, jealous. Well done. Right, so just quickly to get through my journey and the benefits to the business. So I split it in 4 sections. So on the top, I put the modules I attended and what I've done or initiated in the business with cross-functional teams, because these are quite big areas. So firstly, my first module I joined was diet and health, then research methods, and finally influencing consumer and marketing. These were something eye-opening. I was it was an influx of totally new information. So what I have done with my line manager, who was head of food safety, we decided that we need to focus on quality, consistent quality, and not only manage quality in the factory, but connect it to the consumer insight studies. So now our team's working closer together. We changed the model, how we operate. So that was something I felt quite happy about that I could initiate. Secondly, I have a product, poppadums here, which is gluten-free product, and it has only 4 ingredients. It's a Patak's brand. As you may know, that Patak's is famous about the sauces that they make, which has up to 40 ingredients, up to 20 spices in it. So I thought, oh, my doctorate will be based on this simple product. Little I have known. So that I started back in 2012. So that is my starting journey on my research project as well. Secondly, really the big, I was always passionate about sustainability, but I really didn't know what that really means, sustainability in food sector. So those modules like sustainable supply systems, farm to fork, fundamentals of food processing, they were really inspiring me to say, how can we do better at AB World Foods? We are a medium-sized company. We cannot just take and implement a whole gap there. But what we've done with our little teams, we really just focus on those best practices, and we produced our own farm management policy, which is our company's current standard. And we already went through tier 1 suppliers and just checked where we are. And now we're starting building the next plan for next 3 years. So it is something that we really see the big benefit from me attending those modules, that I could help and shape and put the strategic points in our business. GAP, we don't implement, but that, as I said, was farm management. Also, we entered the sustainable spices sourcing from India and Far East, because it is very difficult to get a consistent quality of spices. So by us investing and collaborating with small suppliers, really see the benefit. It's a win-win situation. So that was going on for about 3 years now, and head of purchasing in our business is really, really passionate about to drive it forward. Last but not least here, there was hot topic about horse meat scandal. So we also took notice of that, and we're really going through supply chain mapping. It's quite difficult to do when our supply chain is very complex. I think it was said we have 300 suppliers, 650 raw materials. And so if you multiply through many, many tiers, it is very complex. So third, is the topic which is closest to my heart, is that science of wheat and milling, food texture and rheology, and science of baking. This is really where I got a breakthrough in my research project. I could finally put a framework together and really take my research to a very good point that my tutor says, Lina, yes, you have something now here. And as I said, my product that I'm working with is gluten-free, so it's legume-based. But I was learning about wheat. That means that all skills that we're learning, all knowledge that we're learning is transferable. So that is really inspiring to me that I can apply it in many other situations. Then, you can see me in the photo in India with farmers who grow the legume that we use to produce this product. So that was the follow-up from Sustaining Crop Quality project, module that I attended, which really extended beyond the research I was doing. Company invested money for me to go there and check farm to fork supply chain and understand where there are the contamination of gluten possibilities, to investigate the ethics of the supply chain. It was a very small glimpse of investigation, but that all triggered through this study. So I'm very happy about that. Last but not least is, you can see a little bubble, orange bubble, which says Unibounce. I'm very inspired by this partnership's way of working. And in AB World Foods, we didn't have any focus on research. So what I have done, I created my own program, and now I'm running the second year intake from University of Nottingham and University of Reading. We're taking postgraduate students to do their final products to solve real problems in our business and also gain the first-hand experience and kickstart a career. So most of them gone to Kellogg's to do other PhD studies, and some of them stayed with us. 2 of people were employed by us last year. So this is something that is going beyond the study that I was presenting to you here. So to summarize how I see AFTP, and I think it's written clearly in their website, it's a connecting bridge. But somewhat doing in what I was doing in the last 6 years, that I became that bridge in our company and really, really research. So I'm really, really passionate about the things I'm doing and the connections and networks I made with people. Most of people in the room, I can see a lot of faces. So thank you so much. I hope that's insightful. Would you like some poppadum?
Thank you, Lina. I think, as I said earlier, that's far more powerful about a scheme is to actually have someone that sort of has gone through an experience and can translate through to what benefits can be achieved. Now, I won't sort of dwell too long because what I basically did was go through, I asked all the attendees to come back and give me their sort of brief summaries of what they said about the various schemes. And I don't think, as I say, there's too much really there to sort of read, but if the presentations are around afterwards, then yeah, feel free to sort of go through those in a bit more detail. So my sort of summary of it all is that, you know, having talked to the various attendees, their experiences are all generally extremely positive. The benefits of the training and the face-to-face time in particular, I think, has real sort of strong benefits, even though these days, you know, getting people in companies to let people be free from the workplace from a significant less space of time is challenging. But really, I think what is more exciting, I mean, in the first place, I got to know I didn't probably truly understand why there had to be 4 ATP partnerships in the first place. Seeing us in place now with one seems more sort of logical. And I don't think we're really yet to see the benefits of the whole sort of joined up affair. And I'm really looking forward to seeing those come through. I'd see through looking at the packs that, you know, work's clearly going on with module delivery methods. I can see there's a mixture of, you know, online and what have you. And really from sort of my perspective and seeing from the various attendees that have gone there from our group companies is that the qualification and the CPD parts of these things are equally important to different individuals in different businesses. The ABF businesses, as I said, operate pretty autonomously. They have their own teams, they have their own different working ways. So yes, they will find different ways of working within the scheme. And yes, it's interesting to see over time how the courses rationalise and sort of start to build a pattern. But again, I see that this is sort of exciting times for the AFTP and for the future support of the food industry. And we need these sort of well-trained individuals to keep taking the industry forward when people like myself have decided to find the outdoor after 40-odd years or whatever it'll be at that point. Thank you very much.